Okay, I'm going to go to History of Autism, Part 2. The rest of the 1800s into the 1900s, so the rest of the 19th century into the 20th century. 1800s, knowing people that did the official diagnosis from today, but they didn't know they had autism themselves. Vincent van Gogh had autism. The doctors looked at it based upon the behaviors and all that, frustrations, certain fixations is what neurotypicals say. Yeah. And he had a special interest in painting. A lot of autistics do art. So, yeah. It's just that during his time, they didn't really know what autism was. They just thought he was, crazy, but really he wasn't. He was just trying to express himself, and two, he was attracted to his doctor, and he didn't know how to express that, and two, no one really taught him that it's kind of inappropriate to have a crush on your doctor, because your doctor is a professional thing. So, yeah, he didn't know how to do that with his doctor. Yeah. And he was a famous painter. In 1900, doctors from Switzerland and doctors from Germany found out about autism. They were doing more studies of the kids. Wanted to know what this new condition is, because the doctors found out about it. And then they were doing studies and all that. Some of them were not so good for today's standards, but I'm not going to say what exactly they were doing. Yeah. But yeah, they didn't understand why the kids were just making puzzles or just coloring on a piece of paper and then not responding, and that, and they started doing more writings. And then in the 1910s, Germany tried to say to the medical world that they found a new brain condition called autism. They don't know. They thought it was a form of schizophrenia, like child schizophrenia. They didn't really understand, but they just said it's autism. They seemed to be to themselves or talking, but no one else is in the room. So, yeah, this, well, they didn't understand. This is like still in the dark ages of, trying to understand the condition. And then, World War One, they stopped doing research stuff because, state of the world at that time. Then in the 1920s, a young doctor, a very twisted, sick man named Dr. Asperger's, said it was Asperger's and autism. It was both two different things, but now it's all one, but I'll get to that. And then in the 30s, started doing experiments on autistic individuals. Very bad things, cutting certain pieces of the brain out, mostly the frontal lobe, but sometimes other parts of the brain. And like one part was the smelling part to see what would happen. Yeah, not very good. And then would put the person under sedation. Some of them weren't, and would start poking at the brain to see what the hands would do. but mostly he would just do lobotomies. The rest of the world followed with that. It was very bad times. Then he started to report to, his evil government. Then they started to gas us. But then the 40s still was bad. And then in the 50s, Canada and other countries did experiments, bad ones. And yeah. Then by the 60s, Canada, well, the rest of the world, and the United Nations outlawed lobotomies. Next week, I'll go with part 3 of the history of autism, where it was still bad times, but a lot better than what I was saying.